Picture this, a cold and stormy Thursday night where an incredibly tired man goes to a movie alone. Truly a sad sight. But ladies and gentlemen, this was not me. I'm just as shocked as you, really. That exact sentence was on my schedule. Go see The Lost City. Be bored for 3 hours after. But you know what? Plans change, don't they? I really don't know what's more surprising. That this turned out to actually be a great movie, or the fact that Sony just spoiled Morbius for everybody. Whoops. What do you know? Turns out delaying a movie for 2 years isn't a good thing. Tell that to Top Gun. Jesus. Heads up, the first half of this video is spoiler-free, then the second half is either for those who've seen it, or those who just don't give a f*** about spoilers. Alright, let's get started. Not gonna lie, the only reason I saw this movie was because there was literally nothing else out this week. I don't think you want to hear me talk about X, and there's no recent trailers, so there I was, dragging myself back to the cinema to watch The Lost City. I mean, let's not beat around the bush on this one. This thing was destined to end up in the bargain bin, right next to Ice Age 5, and Ice Age 5.5, because, let's be real, that movie f***ing sucked. Trailer for The Lost City didn't really impress me that much. No one was hyping it up, and it was obvious what demographic it was appealing to. It's just gonna be a Channing Tatum thirst trap, right? I mean, come on, look at the poster. Either that or Brad Pitt thirst trap. The movie looked so cliche. But hold on. Because if you were expecting some middle-of-the-road, cheaply written schlock, then prepare to be disappointed because this movie is actually kind of great. First off, the story is unique and subversive. It's about a romance novel author being kidnapped to find a lost city she mentions in her book, and her cover model comes to rescue her. It's a unique spin on the jungle adventure genre. Like, this is what Jungle Cruise was missing. A unique angle to approach a MacGuffin quest. Come to think of it, why wasn't The Rock in this movie? It's the jungle. That's his only requirement, right? Anyway, the movie doesn't take itself too seriously with the plot. There are some things that you're like, okay, what? No way could they have done that. But the film doesn't try and play it straight, they just have fun with it. It's a unique story that acts as a sort of natural catalyst for good writing. I mean, look at the trailer for this thing. You'd think the writing was on par with one of those wholesome Lifetime originals, but nope, it's better than that. And the comedy lands like 95% of the time. There's only one joke I can think of that went on for too long, and for a movie like this, only one joke being bad isn't that bad. Now, fair warning, pretty much the entire movie is one big sex joke. Sorry, penis jokes to be specific. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's something you'd expect from a movie like this, but instead of like Ghostbusters 16, where they just put it in just because they were out of ideas for comedy, it's more like the Jumanji reboot. A lot of the comedy in this movie stems from the idea that the main characters are really out of place in the environment they're in, leading to a lot of physical comedy. And it works. In addition to the jokes being pretty great, the comedic timing is also on point. Shot composition mixes with off-camera physical humor to create something anyone can enjoy. So the humor is very good. I mean, let's just be real. A lot of you are looking for a movie to see this weekend that you can just have a good time with, maybe break the ice on that awkward first date. This particular motion picture isn't a bad idea. And now on to the characters, aka the best part of this movie. Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum have some great chemistry. Bullock's pessimism doesn't affect Tatum's innocence, and they just end up being a chaotic duo that accidentally eases itself into surviving the jungle. And even the side characters are really great. I won't spoil their characters here because really, you should probably see it for yourself, it'll be funnier. But just take my word for it, they're done really well and they're interesting. Daniel Radcliffe fits the villain bill extremely well. Because aren't you tired of seeing Ben Mendelsohn playing every single goddamn bad guy in existence? Nothing against the guy personally, I'm just tired of seeing him in the villain role. You're in luck because Radcliffe brings his own unique charm and personality to the role. And it's just, not to sound cliche, but it's refreshing. And you need a good villain for a movie like this, trust me. So now we're at the spoiler part of the video. If you're actually thinking about seeing The Lost City for yourself, I'd advise you to click off now as I'm going to be talking all spoilers. But I'd be happy if you stayed as well. My watch time will thank you either way. Don't worry, it's just a few things I want to go over. Dude, that f***ing Brad Pitt death scene? Holy shit! That might be the greatest example of expectation subversion I've ever seen. I mean, Brad Pitt was advertised to be a major player in this movie, and he's only on screen for 5 minutes before he gets his head blown clean off by a gunshot, Joker style. That was just incredible, and I can't believe they had the balls to do that. And they don't pull away from it either. You see all the blood, everything. Not only does it work comedically, but it also makes sense to get his character out of the way. This is a movie about Bullock and Tatum. We don't need the Pit making things more complicated. Lastly, I appreciated the wholesome character arcs we got in The Lost City. Nobody goes into these kinds of films expecting really deep characters, but The Lost City does it probably better than anybody else in this genre. Not only does their chemistry work, but you really get the sense that both characters learned a real lesson by the end of the film. They really connected on that deep emotional level. Tatum is a lovable idiot. That's a trope that is often played up in movies like this. But there is a scene in here that goes just a little more in depth with his character. The movie wants to go that extra mile, and his character development is well earned. Even the treasure hunting element played into the heartfelt ending. The movie subverted the expectations of the heroes finding the real treasure after the villain gives up. And I really appreciate that. They leave it as a wholesome message, and then that's it. The treasure was the love that these two people shared, and they didn't back out of that for a gotcha moment. National Treasure does this, and while that story beat works out in that film, it would be really cliche and boring here. Currently, this film sits at a comfortable 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is one of those rare times where I think a Rotten Tomatoes score is well earned. The movie is subversive, witty, and surprisingly heartfelt. If you're looking to just get a laugh on a casual Saturday, The Lost City is definitely your best bet. So, out of a score of 100, The Lost City gets an 88. That's right, a full 1 percentage point above the Rotten Tomatoes score, because I feel like this movie deserved it. It's a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. In the end, I'm really glad I gave this movie a chance, and I hope you do too. You could probably see this and skip Morbius. I can't believe I'm saying that, but Sony, what the hell? Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. I really do appreciate all the support. We'll circle back next week for some heart-pounding, vampire hunting action, as long as it's at least passable. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.